In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to build your credit score as a beginner and give you 3 steps on how to get there the fastest. So imagine this, you walk into a car dealership, you want to buy your first car. You find the perfect one. You've been working for a few years, so you have the income and the down payment to get the car. You're excited, the car salesman is excited, and you go to fill out the application. And just as you're about to jump up and down with some joy, the car salesman looks at you and says,
It looks like you don't have a credit score. Do you have a cosigner that can help you get this loan?
and your heart drops because you know that you don't have anyone that'll go on the loan with you. But you can afford it, so why do you even need a credit score? So you're required to have a credit score because it shows how risky you are to the lender that's loaning you money. This number shows them the odds of you making your payment every month. If you have a low credit score, it proves that you don't really like to make your payments all the time, and it's more risky to the lender. If you have a high credit score, it shows that you make your payments on time almost every time, and therefore the bank will loan to you because it's less risky and it's higher likelihood that they'll get their money back. So then comes the next question: what factors determine your credit score? The 3 main factors that determine your credit score are credit utilization, so how much of your credit you're using versus how much you have, your on-time payment history, and your length of credit history. So payment history makes up about 35% of your score, credit utilization makes up about 30% of your credit score, and the length of your credit history makes up about 15% of the score. So altogether, this makes up around 80% of the score. So if you do these 3 things right, then you're going to have a higher credit score. So what does this tell us? The number 1 thing to do is to always make your payments on time. As far as credit utility goes, you want to be using less than 30% of your total limit. So this means if you have a $1,000 limit, you never want to spend more than $300 on the card. If you live by that rule, then you'll never get in over your head. It's going to show the banks that you're not using all of your credit because you don't have to, because you can afford it. Lastly, do not open up a lot of credit at once. Each time you open a new line of credit, it actually reduces your credit age, and the length of credit history actually has a lot to do with your overall credit score. So let's say you have one credit card that you opened 2 years ago, however, you just opened up another one. It actually takes the average of the 2 lengths of credit history. So if you have one for 2 years and another one you just opened, the middle line is 1 year. So your credit length goes from 2 years to 1 year, which actually reduces your credit score. Once you have a long credit history, such as 10 to 15 years, those 1 years, 2 years, or new credit inquiries will start hurting your credit less. So the more you get into your credit score, the deeper you get into your credit history, the less of an effect it'll have on it. So here are 3 steps that you can take today to start building your credit score if you do not have a credit score at all, and we're doing it from scratch. Step number 1 is to get a beginner credit card. Most places won't approve you for a regular credit card right away. What a beginner credit card means is you don't have to have a credit score to get that credit card. Most places won't approve you for a regular credit card because they have higher limits. And the higher the limit, the more risk it is to the bank, because you can spend that higher amount and then you might not pay it back. So it's less risky if you get a beginner credit card because it has the lower limits, and in return it has higher approval odds for you. A lot of people are totally against credit cards because they've gotten into credit trouble themselves and they didn't do it the right way. But I'm here to teach you the right way to use a credit card so you'll never get in trouble. A beginner credit card is where you don't have to have a score to get it. My 2 favorites are the Capital One Secured Credit Card and the Chase Freedom Rise. The Secured Credit Card everyone gets approved for because it is secure. What this means is it's secure to the bank because you put a down payment. Typically, whatever down payment you put on the card, they'll give you a limit for around that amount. For example, say you want to get the Capital One Secured Credit Card and you put $400 down. Capital One will give you around a $500 limit. The reason they do this is because if you spend the $500 that they give you and you don't make your payment, they can apply your down payment of the $400 towards your payments. But the cool thing about this card is typically after 6 months of on-time payments, they'll give you your $400 back and it moves over to an unsecured credit card. My second favorite beginner credit card is called the Chase Freedom Rise. They actually just came out with this card, but it's specifically meant for younger adults that don't have any credit score at all. And to get approved for this, not everyone does, you want to have no credit score, and typically they like to see around $250 in your checking account with them. So if you want to get the Chase Freedom Rise, you'll have to go open up a Chase account and put around $250 in there. So it works similar to the Capital One secured credit card, but you're not directly putting the down payment onto the card. So what happens next? Now you have a credit card, but how do you be smart with it, and how do you use it wisely? Some tips with your credit card is to always pay your statement balance in full. Never use more than 30% of your total credit limit. So if you have 1,000, never spend more than 300, and start out only using it once per month. If you pay your statement balance in full every month, then it'll work just like a debit card, same as cash. However, you're going to be getting rewards back because you're using a credit card. The reason I recommend using your credit card only once per month in the beginning is so that you can prove to yourself that you can be responsible with it, that you're not going to get yourself in trouble, and that you can pay it back in full every month and on time. And after you prove this to yourself, you can start using it more, but remember, never use more than 30% of your total credit limit. The great thing about this is typically within 2 to 3 months of on-time payments, your credit score will jump up to 700 to 730 just by getting a credit card. And this number qualifies you for most types of credit, but what do you want to do if you want to increase it even higher? For step number 2, we're actually going to look at credit mix. So credit mix is actually another factor when determining your credit score. It typically accounts for around 10% of your overall score. Credit mix is having different types of credit accounts. So this tells us it's better to have an auto loan, a house loan, and a credit card rather than 3 credit cards. This proves to the lender that you can make your payments on all types of credit, not just one. So to battle this problem, I recommend using what's called a self-lender loan. This works as a personal loan and a savings account at the same time. So you get the best of both worlds. You get a personal loan reported to the credit bureaus, but you also get a savings account that you're funding into every single month. So what happens is you'll pick a loan amount and a term. So let's use $1,000 for example in 2 years. A self-lender will report that they gave you a loan for $1,000 and you have 2 years to pay it back. But what actually happens is they don't give you any money at all, and they'll make you pay equal installments of $41.66, which ends up equaling the $1,000 at the end of the 2 years. The cool thing about this is they'll actually give you the $1,000 that you paid in the whole time while you were building credit history. It was working as a savings account and even helping with credit mix. So the whole time it looked like you had a loan, but really you were just paying into a savings account. So for the final step, step number 3 is to download any type of app that tracks your credit score. So physically seeing your score every week actually helps you have an emotional connection to your spending habits and will contribute to your score being high over time. If you miss a payment and see your score drop down, what will you not do next month? Miss a payment. It shows you all the factors that contribute to your credit score, and most apps even have a credit score simulator, which will simulate your score if you do a specific thing. For example, what will happen to your credit score if you pay off a credit card? What will happen if you get a new credit card? What will happen if you pay down debt? What will happen if you buy a house? My favorite app to use for this is Credit Karma. It has all the features that you'll need to increase your score and keep track of your progress. So once you turn 18, you start out with a 0 credit score, and the ultimate goal for most people is to get it to an 800. But 800 is one of those things that you actually have to have credit for a long time to get to. So if you don't have a credit score of 800 right away, it's okay. The reason for this is that length of credit actually makes up a huge part of your credit score, like we talked about earlier. The longer you have good credit, the higher your score will be. As a banker, I've seen thousands of credit scores, and to be honest, I've never seen anyone with an 800 credit score that was under 35 years old. Once you get above a 750 credit score, anything above that is really just bonus points. 750 gets you the best rates with the best opportunities and gets you approved for almost anything. So do me a favor, take those 3 steps and use it to take your credit score from 0 to 750 the quickest. If you all enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe button below, and don't forget to leave a comment so I can answer yours in the next video.